You always wondered why that app didn't exist. Now you can make it. Meet Replit Agent. Want a custom workout plan? Make an app for that.
Nah.
What in the holy hell?
This is the Belle Reeve Non-Human Interment Division.
She's not human?
Is a corpse human?
Who is she?
We call her the Bride.
Who's Jason and the Argonauts?
A sociopath who called himself Dr. Phosphorus. He has irradiated skin he can use to burn through people and objects.
What is that thing?
The Weasel. It's one of the few soldiers still alive from Project Starfish in Corto Maltese, so we know it has what it takes to survive.
That one looks like a discontinued dishwasher.
That dishwasher killed over 300 Nazis in World War II. I would have dismantled it, but I thought it might come in use someday. It's known as G.I. Robot. Last one is Nina Mazursky. She's the smartest and most reasonable of the bunch. She might be able to help you keep the rest of them in line.
What in the holy hell?
This is the Belle Reeve Non-Human Interment Division.
She's not human?
Is a corpse human?
Who is she?
We call her the Bride.
Who's Jason and the Argonauts?
A sociopath who called himself Dr. Phosphorus. He has irradiated skin he can use to burn through people and objects.
What is that thing?
The Weasel. It's one of the few soldiers still alive from Project Starfish in Corto Maltese, so we know it has what it takes to survive.
That one looks like a discontinued dishwasher.
That dishwasher killed over 300 Nazis in World War II. I would have dismantled it, but I thought it might come in use someday. It's no...
Yo, bro, have you heard this creepy sound? Is that a cat?
Odin Valhalla Rising.
Bruh. Crocodilo, armadillo.
And eventually, I got a pretty nice fit.
Crocodilo, armadillo. Let's see. Crocodilo, armadillo. Crocodilo, armadillo. Crocodilo, armadillo. Okay, so crocodilo, armadillo. It's its first jets. They look hella ugly, but it is plausible. Crocodilo, armadillo. Oh shit, I'm doing it. Just saying, I suck at realistic, So go suck a cock. What?
No one understands me. If I actually told people how I'm feeling, they would think of me differently. That is a lie that I told.
My name is William. I'm the head manager here at Red 32 Funerals.
Hello.
I don't like to talk much about before. You'll hear people say they were a man of the cloth, and it sounds like something soft. Velvet robes, gold trim, a warm, safe kind of life. It wasn't like that. I was a priest, yes, but not the kind with a pulpit and parish potlucks. My sermons weren't about love, they were about keeping the doors shut. And if I left that behind, if I walked away from the collar and the cross, it's because I had to, not because I wanted to. Now, I run Red 32 Funerals, 16 years and counting. You're the new receptionist, aren't you? Huh. Surprised you showed. Most don't. That ad has been up so long the paper has turned yellow. People call and ask about it sometimes, but they hang up when I tell them we do our own embalming, or they just stop responding after the interview. You showed up though. Maybe you're different. Now this is the kind of place that runs on more than one job title. You'll answer the phones, yes, but also help with intake, deliver paperwork to the hospital, sometimes help me prep a body. I won't ask you to do anything I haven't done 100 times myself, but I will ask you to take it seriously.
There we go.
And I mean dead seriously. People think funeral work is all sadness and candles. They forget the part about keeping order, the real kind. The kind that holds the bones in the ground. Now, you'll notice a few things. I keep a silver pocket watch in my vest. It doesn't tick. You'll hear no sound from it, not even if you press it to your ear. It's not for the hour. It's for remembering how long they've been still. You'll learn why that matters soon enough. You might think I'm superstitious. I am not. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in rules. There's a difference. If you forget the salt in the prep room, I will yank you back by your collar. I won't raise my voice. I won't curse. But I will drag you back to that body, and you will do it again. Properly. Because salt isn't for taste, and it's not for show. It's part of the barrier. You forget that, and things slip. I don't preach anymore. Haven't raised my voice in prayer in over a decade. But if you mutter a verse while we work, and I hear you don't mean it, I'll stop you. Right there. No halfway words in this place, no empty breath. Because everything here listens, and everything here remembers. Now, you're still sure you want the job? Good. Then I'll show you the embalming room. Watch your step. Don't touch the door frame. For God's sake, don't ask about the bell in the back hall. Not yet. Tucked beside a crooked old church no one remembers the name of, this small local funeral home has been open longer than the graveyard it's surrounded by. That always bothers people the first time they hear it. Something about it feels wrong. Backwards. Like time should move in only one direction. And buildings meant for the dead shouldn't come before the land meant to hold them. But Red 32 was here first. Not by a year or two. Not by mistake. The church came later. The headstones came later. Even the trees, tall and bent now like quiet old men, grew up after. The land, though, it always had something under it. You can feel it if you stand still long enough on the back lot. Something deep, not hollow, maybe not alive, just old. It started with a man. That's how most stories go, even the worst ones. A man with calloused hands, and a spine shaped by labor. His name was Elias Kerr. Now, Elias wasn't from here. Nobody really knows where he came from. Some said Scotland, others said somewhere out west. No one could ever agree, and there are no papers left to prove it. But the story always
still not here?
stays the same. In 1796, Elias Kerr walked out of a mine collapse that killed 42 men, walked out barefoot and bleeding, carried
Sounds very
his arm in a
Should die.
satchel, thinking it was his own.
I would
He
recommend
didn't
it.
speak for
I'm
3
getting
days
chased by a
after
five
moving from the rock. When he finally opened his mouth,
You're getting chased
what
by
he
a
said
bi.
was this:
If you get killed by a bisexual, just delete
No,
yourself.
biplane.
Not
Like
to
they're
God.
planes with
Yeah,
two.
just
not to the men who died, to the ground itself.
All those things. Yeah,
He
good luck.
stayed in town, but
I
never
can't
went
help you
near
there,
a mine
honestly.
again.
Never
Instead,
played Jet.
he started building,
Oh, I'm leaking?
not
Yeah,
for profit,
He's not playing
not
these
for anyone
games.
else. He built something for
Bro, my,
himself.
shit,
A chapel, small and gray, with thick stone walls and an altar that faced west.
I also
instead
might
of
create
east.
an elemental hero
There was no
deck.
congregation,
Nah, bro.
no sermons, no cross.
No, like
only
hero decks are
graves.
actually pretty good, low key.
He buried each of the 42 men with his bare hands, dug the ground
Bear.
himself, all
Real
on the same
bear.
stretch of land behind the chapel. No help, no tools but a shovel and a length of cord. He didn't build lockers from wood. He carved them from leftover stone. He wheeled up from the quarry
We
every
sound like
week.
retards. Just
Their
one
names,
beer.
well, they're almost unreadable now, worn down by wind and rain and years of moss. But you can still
Not
feel
calm.
the grooves if you touch them.
Not
And
being a
people
very good
live,
boy.
strangers, travelers. Not many,
Bro,
but
just
some.
let me draw a free card
Every
back.
few years, someone drives miles out of their way to stand in front of those stones and press their palms flat against them. They never stay long. After the
I know I
years
called
died,
you. There we
Elias didn't
go.
stop. He built a second structure next to the chapel, smaller, lower, with no windows at all. Thick walls again, the kind that muffle, the kind that keep the cold in no matter the season. No one asked what it was for, but the rumors started quickly.
You better
It
pick
wasn't a
up.
home. He didn't
Or call
sleep
him
in
on your
it.
phone.
He didn't
What?
eat there.
Call him on
might
your
The
fell
phone.
town
asleep.
started calling
You
it
should have let him
the
fall asleep,
cold
though, 'cause
room.
he's
It was
actually
where he
good.
brought the
You should've
dead.
let him rest.
Not just miners, but
Honestly,
anyone
dude.
else who passed. Anyone
And then
without a
tomorrow,
family,
absolutely harass him.
or
He's
with
been putting himself through
family,
hell.
too afraid to claim them. Elias would carry them in himself, one by one. Sometimes on his back, sometimes on a
Broke.
stretcher he made from branches and canvas. He never locked the door, but no one went inside, not even out of curiosity. He called it a settling room. That was the word he used. Not morgue, not crypt, not parlor. A place for
I love
the
how
dead
they just have
to
multiple
settle
decks I'm working on right
before
now.
they sank. Now, no one knew exactly what that meant, but it was said with such certainty, like it wasn't just a belief. It was a rule. The place had no name. That came later, and not from Elias. But that little room of stone, table, and salt, that was the first version of Red 32. You can still feel the shape of it under the floor in the current building. When you walk through the back corridor past the embalming room, the wood shifts in a strange way. Not creaking exactly, more like pressure. Like something underneath is holding its breath. There's no official record of when it was built. The city has no permits, no blueprints,
No,
no
Ricky.
mention of a property line until the early 1900s. And even then, while the notes are strange, vague, descriptions of structures of indeterminate age and non-conforming use. But the building was there. Still is. We didn't knock it down, we built over it. You'll notice as you work here that some things don't fit quite right. Angles where the floor meets the wall, doors that don't swing straight, corners that feel wider on one side than the other. That's because the original stone walls
I'm
are
so
still
close.
underneath,
You clean my
just
blue
behind the
stick.
drywall. Some of the old supports
I
were
like.
buried
I
in the
need like
foundation.
90 ultra rare,
We couldn't
and I have
remove them.
24 already.
We tried once. One of the beams cracked open during a renovation and let out a smell that emptied the whole building for 2 days. Not decay, not sewage, not mold. It smelled like roses and rot, both at once, thick in the throat, the kind of scent that clings to your clothes even after you've left the property. We sealed the crack with resin and steel brackets, covered it with shelving. That was 10 years ago, and the shelves have never held a thing. Anything we place there just tips over on its own. So now we leave it bare. Some rooms don't want to be used, and some names don't want to be remembered. There are no photographs of Elias Kerr, no portraits, not even a sketch, but the stone remains, and the table, and the salt. That's where it all began. That's
I
where it
freaking
still
hate
begins,
the blue eyes decks now.
every time.
Says the guy with the
Now
blue
that you
eyes.
know a little bit about this place,
It's not even
where it
finished.
came from,
I still don't
what
have it.
bones
I'm
it's
playing with an
built
Exodia
on,
deck.
you should know some of the
Bro,
rules.
it would be easier if
Not
you
the
just
kind you
scrapped it
find
and
in an
just built
employee
your
handbook.
chart.
There's no binder, no HR desk. There are the real
So
Draw
rules.
2 cards. This is
ones that
retarded.
So listen
So
close.
do me this Batman.
Rule number 1.
Of course he had to draw
No
Maiden
one
of
is
White.
allowed
He's
to
a brokey.
die on the property.
So
You
do
might
me
think
this
that sounds
Batman.
strange for a funeral home, like we're trying to make a joke out of something that isn't funny. But I'm not joking. No one dies
That's true.
inside
I don't have
Red
any negate cards in
32.
my hands.
Not
Brokey.
anymore.
Look at you.
I just
not a
used one
matter
of them
of
to cancel
policy. It's not
Spear with
insurance.
Eyes of Blue.
It's not about paperwork. It's a rule. A real one. Maybe the most important we have. If someone dies inside the walls of this building, they don't leave. They become what I call a resident.
That's right, he's in bed.
Now, I've dealt with spirits before. I know the difference. A ghost is a memory that refuses to let go. Some of them don't even know they're dead. Others hang around for reasons of their own. Unfinished business, strong emotions, whatever keeps them tethered. But spirits, real ones, are usually just noise. They knock things over. They walk down halls. They stand too close to your bed, and they make you feel cold. But they don't mean harm, not most of them. Residents are something else. When a person dies on this land, on it, not just near it, they don't stay as themselves. Something in the ground twists them. It hollows them out and packs the space with rage. Some force inside this place peels them down to their most violent parts and builds from there. It doesn't matter who they were in life, good, bad, kind, cruel, death here reshapes them into something terrible. And they remember. They remember the moment of death like an ember in their chest, burning hotter every time someone walks past the spot where it happened. That's what a resident is. They're not spirits. They're not mourners. They're
Okay, I
not
must have
echoes.
negated him, that's good.
They're occupants. And they don't like company. The last time
had 2
someone
lives.
died inside Red 32,
That's weird.
we had to close for 6 weeks.
How many maidens?
That was the last time I let someone die here. That was over a decade ago. And I still
Or
don't
draw
use
something
it as
good or
cool.
die. We draw something good.
I keep it locked. Now, when we have a viewing or a family gathering, we keep a close eye on the guests. Some of them come in already weak. Old age, illness, grief. You can see it in their hands, the way they grip door frames to steady themselves. It's worse when they sit down. That's when it starts. They lean back and let out this long breath, like they're letting go. That's when we move. If someone starts dying, really dying, you get them out. No hesitation, no waiting. Doesn't matter if it's snowing outside or if you're in the middle of a prayer. I don't care. Doesn't matter how peaceful it looks or how close the end is. You put your arms under their arms and you drag them outside. Better a lawsuit than a resident. I've done it before, more than once. We had a woman collapse in a chapel once. Maybe, what was it, eight years ago? Slid out of the pew like her bones gave up. Her nephew screamed. Her sister tried to lay her flat. I saw the signs immediately. Eyes half lit, fingers curling inward. That final slackening that comes when the soul's halfway loose. I didn't ask questions. I didn't wait for permission. I lifted her by the shoulders and I dragged her down the aisle while her family screamed at me to stop. They thought I was completely insane, but I was saving them. She died just outside the front steps, on the gravel. I folded my coat under her head and said the words I still remembered from seminary. She passed quiet, gentle, and she
Bad
left.
boy.
We didn't have to board up the chapel. We didn't have to scrub the pews with salt and soap. We didn't have to move a family into a hotel for 6 weeks and have the walls.
This is so funny. This guy drew a bad hand.
Clawed its way through.
Now his blue eyes deck is screwed.
We just buried her.
He's
Like
got
we were
checkmate.
supposed to. That's the outcome we want. Sometimes families, they don't understand.
Can I play my
They
deck
think
now?
it's disrespectful, cold,
You
cruel.
don't get to.
And that's
Oh, this
fine.
guy's taking forever.
They're not here long.
God, good boy.
They don't have to live with the consequences. We do. It's also the reason a lot of the long-term staff here come from the cloth. Not all are priests, but most used to be. Deacons, monks, a few nuns. I don't ask
Yeah,
for
F's back here.
credentials.
That's
I
crazy.
don't need a certificate to know when someone has been shaped by faith. Men of the cloth don't flinch when they see something that isn't right. They
That's
don't
crazy.
blink when the light bends wrong around a corner. And more importantly, they know how to handle the dead. There's a way you move a body, a way you speak to it, a way you carry it down the hallway that shows respect, but not fear.
There's no way giving her a gay card.
Fear
That's why I
invites
fought.
things
Bad
in.
boy.
Confidence keeps the door shut. Civilians don't always get that. You will. If you stay here long enough, you'll learn the difference. You'll
I need
learn
to
what
go
to
on the
look
deck
for
right
in
freaking now.
someone's eyes
Towards
when they've
GG's
already
running.
started slipping away. You'll feel it in the temperature of the room. Not cold exactly, but paused, like the walls are holding their breath,
I guess I won.
waiting to see which way it flows. If you hesitate, even for a second, that breath turns inward. And that's too late. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you, because if someone dies inside this place, you will see them again. And it won't be as they were. It'll be what they became. You won't recognize their voice. You won't recognize their face.
Bro, I
You'll
just want to recap.
know
That's why I
one
want to.
thing
It's not that
the
deep.
moment they enter the room. They don't want help. They want company.
Is it me, or is the new season just more difficult? And new
Rule number 2.
Mostly
The
because
cadaver must be spoken to before embalming. Some people think the body is just a shell.
I got all these cards to
Once
like
the heart
upgrade,
stops,
like the
they
Blue
say.
Eyes and Fiendsmith
That's
deck.
it. Just meat and bone. That's not true.
Because that it doesn't get an upgrade.
When a body comes through our doors, It doesn't come in empty. There's always something left behind. Sometimes it's memory. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's just confusion, thick and quiet like fog in the skull. Most people don't
you think
die
you're gonna run?
gently.
Nah, this is not how
I know
this-
people don't like hearing that. That's not a lie we like to tell ourselves. That death comes like a soft hand in the dark. Most people die in pain. They die afraid or angry or surprised. Sometimes they don't even know what happened. When that body ends up on our table, stripped, drained, and prepared for the final steps, it still remembers what it felt like to be alive. It remembers the rush of the panic, the last breath that never came back in. That's why we speak to it. It's not tradition, it's not habit, it's a rule. You must speak to the cadaver before embalming, not after, not during. Before you touch a tool, before you adjust their limbs, before the first incision. Speak. Not just any words, not whatever comes to mind. There is a phrase we use, and only this phrase. Your name is known.
Okay, back in time.
Your rest is earned. You say it clearly, calmly, like you mean it. Because they hear you. They might not show it, but they do. And if you skip it, if you forget, or rush, or think it doesn't matter, the body knows. We had a new tech here once, fresh out of mortuary school. Eager, sharp, thought he knew more than the rest of us because his textbooks were newer. First day, I gave him a chance to prep a body while I watched. Told him the rule. Even wrote it down on the whiteboard. He didn't say the words. I was 10 feet away when it happened. The body had already been drained. Tubing was in place. The jaw was wired shut. And then it moved. Not a twitch. Not a spasm. Not the kind of shift you can blame on nerves or posture. It seized. Every muscle locked at once, arms pulled in tight, toes curled so hard they cracked, you could hear it. He dropped the tools, backed away like he'd touched fire. I didn't say a word. I just stepped forward and repeated the phrase. Your name is known. Your rest is earned. Slowly, the tension left. The hands opened. The feet relaxed. The skin turned cold again, the way it's supposed to be.
God.
I told him to go home after that. He didn't come back. And that's fine. Not everyone is meant for this work. You will be, if you learn. Look, the thing you have to understand is that dying, it's not a single moment. It's a process. For some people, it ends fast. For others, it drags. And sometimes, it keeps dragging even after the heart stops. That part of the soul, whatever's left behind, it doesn't always understand where it is, or why it can't move. My gosh, if you start cutting, draining, sewing, if you violate that confusion without acknowledgement, you risk waking something that doesn't want to be awake. You may see nothing, you may hear nothing, but the moment you ignore that kindness, something bad happens. Not because it's angry, because it's scared. And that's why we say the words, not for Sarah, not to honor the dead in some grand way, but because it's the only thing that reaches across that boundary. The phrase itself doesn't come from scripture. It's older. No one knows exactly where it came from. It works, and that's what matters. We'll get used to saying it. Some of the bodies twitch when they hear it. A finger jerks. An eyelid flutters. It's normal. Just nerves responding to the echo. If the body blinks, start over. Repeat the phrase until the eyes stay closed.
This guy has an Exodia deck? That's crazy.
Never walk away until you're sure. But
No,
if the
you
mouth
literally has an
moves,
Exodia.
if it talks,
Wait, oh my gosh, big brain, I'm
you
using
leave
blue
the
eyes
room
to
right
kill
away.
him.
You lock the door behind you.
Bro,
You don't
GG's.
respond, you don't ask a question.
That's funny.
You don't finish the prep. If the dead start speaking, it means they haven't crossed over. It means they're caught between and clawing for a way back. And that's not your job. We're not shepherds. We're not reapers. We don't lead people through death. That is someone else's role. We just prepare them to go. You need to know the difference. When the dead speak, they don't want peace. They want answers. And they think you can give them some. They'll beg, they'll lie, they'll curse. They'll sound just like they did when they were alive. Because they are still inside. Don't be fooled by the voice. Don't be moved by the sorrow. They are not your responsibility. Your job is to guide them from one place to the next, not explain why the bridge exists. If you follow the rules, they settle. If you don't, they don't. It's that simple. So before you lay your hands on a body, before you unwrap it from the delivery shroud, before you so much as open your mouth to comment on the clothes or the toe tag, say the phrase. Say it like you mean it. Because sometimes it's the only thing standing between a peaceful procedure and a room you'll never walk into again. Rule number 3. Never autopsy a body wearing red. Rib 32. It's not just a name. Not really. It's something deeper. Some of the staff think the number's the important part. That maybe we're the 32nd funeral home in a line of others like this, or that there were 31 others before something finally went
I just made
wrong.
a bone rush quit, that's fine.
Some say it's a countdown.
Hey, chat.
I've heard
The first thing
everything from
I
biblical
just
references
throw
to
away my blue eyes to
conspiracy
summon
boards.
Exodia, and he just
Doesn't
rage
matter.
quits.
I don't think it's the number.
It's crazy chat.
I think it's the color. And if you've worked here long enough, if you've seen the messes we've had to clean and the prayers we've had to say, you'll stop guessing too. You'll understand the rule for what it is. We never autopsy a body wearing red. Not a red shirt, not a red dress, not a necktie, scarf, glove, or sock. Doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter why they were wearing it. Red.
Why is
It
it so
holds things.
fake?
In a medical setting, color shouldn't matter. Once a body's dead, it's
Father,
dead.
why is it
The
so
clothes
long?
are just fabric. They are removed, tagged, and either returned to the family
Father, why
or
you
disposed
gay?
of.
Why are you
But
putting
here
me
at Red
in
32, red does something fabric isn't supposed to do. It keeps things alive. Not in the scientific sense. No heartbeat, breath, or
It'd be
brain
good, let me
function.
play.
It
Good
keeps
boy.
the feeling, anger,
Good
grief, confusion. All
Yeah,
the
Player's just such a
noise
good
people
boy
carry
nowadays,
in their
you know?
final moments.
Like, the duels
All
are
the
complicated, but they're
emotional
more of
weight.
like good boys.
The red doesn't let it leave.
For real though.
It traps it, holds it down like heat sealed in a metal box.
Also, I think I
You
figured
can't
out.
see it. You won't measure it with
like,
instruments. But
Never
when you
place
work
like
the
your
table,
monsters
you
in attack
will
mode
feel it.
unless you know you're safe.
It sticks to your gloves. It turns the room heavy. And when you cut into a body still wearing red, even a sliver of it still on the skin, you let all that trapped rage out all at once. Not symbolically, not metaphorically. I mean, the body will bleed, and it won't stop. This isn't normal post-mortem bleeding. Every embalmed body has some fluid that leaks. Every incision can drip. This isn't that. This is pressure, volume, persistence. It doesn't matter if the veins were drained, tied, clamped. Doesn't matter if the heart is gone. The blood will come. We didn't always know this rule.
It comes
One night,
everywhere.
early spring, a body came in from out of town. Young man, 23,
Does
found
it
dead
not
in
when
his
you
parked
jake
car.
it?
No wounds, no signs of
Depends on where
violence,
you are.
no OD.
Wait, does
He
age
was
actually
sitting
make a
upright,
difference?
like he just dozed off. Autopsy was
That's
requested by the family.
wild.
Standard procedure.
Crazy.
There was no warning on the chart, nothing flagged.
Yes.
He came in wearing a red
What?
tracksuit. Synthetic fabric, glossy.
I have clothes
Like
on.
something
You
you'd
can
wear
relax,
to a
child.
gym or a party.
Get up.
It didn't look ceremonial. It didn't look
Look
intentional.
what?
But red is red. One of our newer assistants started prep before I got to the room. He wasn't careless, just
I know nothing about
inexperienced.
redstone, so you're on your
He
own.
assumed the red would be removed like anything else, that it was safe to proceed. And he was wrong. He made the first incision along the lower torso. Standard Y cut. No blood at first.
If
just
my blood isn't ready to
tissue,
go right now, I'm
soft
screwed.
and pale, the way it should be. Then it started. A slow trickle at first, which he assumed was left over from transport. But then it kept coming. Not thin like embalming fluid, thick, wet, too much. The body had been drained. He'd checked the tags.
Bomb, bomb,
Tubes were
bomb.
clean. Lines were closed. But the blood poured out like the body didn't know it was dead. He tried to stop it. Pressure, clamps, cauterization, nothing worked. By the time I stepped in, it was spreading across the floor in a sheet. Too wide for one body.
1,000-pound bomb.
Too steady. It looked like someone had opened a main. We called for help. Not medical. Clergy. Two of my contacts,
I think my
priests
phone
who
is
no
stuck.
longer work
You
in
might just rage
parishes,
quit.
arrived with the proper tools.
Oh, never
They
mind.
didn't ask questions.
Retarded.
Just started
bomb.
Back to
working.
square one.
Salt
Bro, what are retarded
lines,
bombs?
incense, words that aren't spoken in Sunday sermons. Even after the bleeding
Bro,
stopped,
I'm just clutching right now.
the
It's
damage
crazy.
was done. The autopsy room had to be shut for a month. Blood had soaked under the tiles, into the casters of the table, into the grout. It had a weight to it, the kind that clings to your boots even after the floor looks clean. We sealed the body without further examination, buried it in a double-lined casket with a red garment still inside, per our amended protocol. And after that night, I changed the intake checklist. Now we check for red first. It's on the top of the form, highlighted in bold, you'll see it. If red is found, we stop everything. We remove it using gloves and seal it in a separate bag. The bag is buried with the body. Never returned, never burned, never reused. The family is not consulted. It is not their decision. We had to learn that too. A few months after the tracksuit incident, a woman came in wearing a red
Is there even a
silk
way for
scarf.
this man to clutch?
Thin,
Touch your balls.
soft,
That's what I thought.
elegant. The family insisted we return it. Said it belonged to her grandmother. Said it had been passed down for generations. We told them we couldn't. They argued, threatened to sue, said we were violating personal property laws, said it was just a scarf. And I let them yell. Then I showed them the photos from the last time someone ignored the rule. They didn't bring it up again. You'll get used to those conversations. You'll learn how to stand firm when people push. And you'll learn to recognize red before your hands even touch the fabric.
Bro, this is the worst hand
You'll
I've
feel
seen.
it. So remember the rule. Say it to yourself
Ever.
if you have to. Write it on your sleeve. Tape it to the mirror above your sink. Never autopsy a body wearing red.
Big
Rule
ball.
number 4.
Come here.
Never recite a prayer you don't believe in.
I want to be hurt.
This
Okay.
job isn't about faith. Not really. It helps, sure. But we don't hire people based on what God they pray to, or if they pray at all. You could be a monk, a heretic, or someone who lights a candle only when the lights go out. That's not exactly what matters here. What matters is whether or not you understand what a prayer actually is. Because a prayer is not just words. It's not just noise dressed up in holy clothes. A prayer is a key. And when you speak one, whether you know it or not, you're turning that key in a lock you can't see. That lock might be in the ground. It might be behind the eyes of the body lying in front of you. It might even be in your own throat. And once it's turned, there's no turning it back. See, here at Red 32, we don't ask our workers to
Okay,
follow
there's some
any
things called a
particular
bad
religion.
hand.
We don't
Let's
take
be
you
for real.
aside and quiz you on what scripture you've memorized. I don't really care what you believe, but I care very much whether you mean it when you say it. That's the difference. Not belief exactly, but sincerity. It's the only thing that matters when speaking to the dead. Some rites are spoken out loud, some are whispered, some are silent movements of the hands across the skin. All of them count if the person doing them believes. That belief charges the action, fills it with something the dead recognize. It's like a light in the dark, not warm,
Vision
not
summoning's
safe,
crazy. Not gonna
but seen.
lie.
The soul doesn't always know where it is after it's left the body. It drifts, it lingers, it forgets what time feels like. But it remembers tone, intention, familiar patterns. And when it hears something it once knew, an honest prayer, spoken with real feeling, it settles, not into sleep necessarily, just into place, into silence. But if you fake it, if you say the words just to fill the air or to please a family member watching you from the doorway, or worse, to mock the ceremony itself, then the soul doesn't settle. It doesn't move on. It sharpens. We had a technician here once, long before your time. Fast learner, right. The kind who always finished the checklist before anyone else. But he treated the
I got a lot of
rites
research
like
to do,
background
too.
music. A formality. Something to do with your
I'm
mouth
starting to
while
train
your hands
like a
work.
UFC fighter.
There was a body brought in. Middle-aged man.
And I think I looked into a
The
different
family was
training
part of a
style.
small religious sect, not something you'd find in a textbook. Their only request was that a certain phrase be
I just won't
spoken
be on the
while the
entire day.
body was being washed. Just 8 words, easy enough to remember. They even wrote it down phonetically, so there'd be no excuse for mispronouncing it.
Sure.
That tech thought it was funny. He told a joke about it while we were getting supplies. Called it
Why are you
a
talking?
magic spell.
You get hard of her.
The family wasn't there to hear it, but I did. And later, when he was alone in the chapel doing prep, he said the words, I know, he said them, because I found a slip of paper still tucked under the tray. But he didn't say them as a rite. He said them with a sneer. That matters.
Where is Flopper?
When I found him later, he was hanging from the rafters.
I need Flopper
He was
to get back on
alive,
Fortnite
just
so we
barely.
start several
His eyes were open but unfocused. His mouth was moving, but the words weren't his. They weren't in any language I could place. Not Latin, not Aramaic. Anything
That's
I could manage to
7,700
write.
damage.
We cut him down very carefully. We kept him sedated for 3 days, watched over him in shifts. He
Yeah,
never
that's
stopped
GG's for
speaking.
you guys.
The rhythm
I don't
stayed
know
the
if you
same.
guys over.
Like a litany he couldn't stop repeating, even in sleep. And then on the
Actually, yeah,
fourth
it's over.
morning, he was gone. No sign of forced entry, no open doors, no footage on the cameras. Just a and a faint smell of candle smoke. After that, we rewrote the employee manual. We changed how we train people. We started with one sentence carved into the first page of the rights log in all caps. Never recite a prayer you don't believe in. And now I'm telling you the same. The danger doesn't come from saying the words wrong. It doesn't come from following a faith that isn't your own. We perform ceremonies from dozens of traditions here. And that's not the problem. The problem comes when someone pretends. When you recite sacred words without meaning them, the dead know. The weight of those syllables passes through your body but finds no anchor, no honesty. And that emptiness becomes a kind of invitation. And something answers it. Because that's how prayer works. It opens. If you say something sacred with mockery in your voice, the dead don't see a mourner. They see a liar. And liars have no place among the dead. Well, that's all the rules you need for now. Enough to get you through your first shift without getting yourself or anyone else hurt. There are more, of course. A lot more. Some of them written down. Others passed between staff in a break room when the lights flicker. A few are only learned the hard way. One mistake at a time. But those can wait. You'll hear them when you're ready. This place, it has a way of knowing how much a person can handle. It gives you what you need, right up to the edge of what you're not supposed to know yet. Sometimes, if you're lucky, it gives you time to brace yourself before the next lesson starts. But that's the trick, isn't it? You don't always know when a lesson is beginning. If you respect the rules, if you speak gently, walk steady, and keep your eyes open, you might just last. Welcome to Red 32, Funeral Homes. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. Special thank you to all my patrons. If you'd like to become a supporter on Patreon, there's a link in the description. I hope you have a great night, and thanks for watching. I bet you're not used to all this snow. Didn't expect it to come down this hard. That's how it is on here. 1 minute the roads are clear, next you are buried up to your knees. Tow truck's on its way though. Shouldn't be much longer now. Sorry to pick you up from the airport only for us to get stuck here. That's just nowhere for you. Yeah, that's the name of the town. Nowhere. I know how it sounds, a little dramatic, maybe even a little cliche, but it wasn't meant to be. The old settlers named it after some Nordic word. It meant something important, I'm sure. But nobody remembered what. Over time, people just started calling it nowhere, and it stuck. Fitting name, really. We're tucked up in the mountains, cut off from most of the world. The kind of place that doesn't show up on maps, unless you're looking real close. Winters here are long, brutal. The kind that bury cars, freeze pipes, make you think twice before stepping outside. It snows so much that sometimes, even in summer, you'll see kids building snowmen in the streets. Life here, it's simple. It has to be. People live off the land, ice fishing, trading, doing what they can to get by. There's not much in the way of modern conveniences. Cell reception's bad. Wi-Fi is worse, and if you need something from outside, you wait months for the supply truck. But the food's warm, the people are good most of the time, and I would not trade it for anything. I've been here my whole life. I was born in nowhere, grew up in nowhere, and I will probably die in nowhere. That's just how it is for folks like me. I learned how to fish before I learned how to read. Spent my childhood bundled up in 3 layers, carving paths through waist-deep snow. My dog, Lucky, was just a pup back then. He's older now, a little slower, but his fur is still black as night. In all this world, he's like a little ink blot against the snow, easy to spot from miles away. You'd probably like it here. Most people do at first. They come for the festival. That is our busiest time of year. The Northern Lights Festival. It's what keeps this town running. Brings in money, keeps the lights on. People from all over come just to see the sky glow, to feel like they've found something special. But nowhere has its secrets. Most of them are old. So old, they're not worth mentioning. Just stories passed down from people who've been dead longer than any of us have been alive. But some things, the important things, those don't get forgotten. Especially now this time of year. See, when the festival comes, so do other things. Things that don't show up in the brochures. Things that don't get talked about once you leave. There are rules here. I don't expect you to believe me. Most tourists don't. At least not at first. They laugh it off. Think it's just some small town superstition. A way to make the place feel more mysterious. That's fine. You don't have to believe me. But you do have to listen, because you're here now. And in nowhere, things go bump in the night. Now the festival, it's supposed to be a celebration. Once a year, right in the dead of winter, when the nights stretch long and the cold sinks deep, the whole town comes alive. The streets aglow with lanterns. The market fills with stalls selling hot cider and carved charms, and people gather in thick coats, their faces turned to the sky. The auroras are the main event. Waves of green, purple and blue stretch across the night, moving slow and steady, like something alive. They ripple, fade, brighten again, a silent dance above the frozen land. No matter how many times you see them, they never lose their wonder. The tourists come for the lights, and the locals do too. It's a rare thing to see something so perfect. Makes you feel small in the best way, like the world is bigger than you ever imagined. My grandfather used to tell me stories about the festival. He believed that auroras weren't just lights, they were souls. The highway of the dead, carrying spirits from this world to whatever lies beyond. He said that dying under the aurora guaranteed your soul a safe journey, that the sky reached down and carried you away before you could get lost. I don't know if it's true, but I have never forgotten the way he said it, like it was something sacred, like it was something that had always been. I think about him a lot this time of year. My grandmother too. They're both gone now, but when the lights come, I feel like they're close. I always go to the festival, not just for the crowds, not for the music or the market stalls. I go for myself. I set up a tent away from town, somewhere quiet, where the snow stretches untouched for miles. I drill a hole in the ice, drop my fishing line, and let the silence settle in around me. Lucky sits beside me, his black fur stark against the snow, ears perked, listening to the distant sounds of the festival. And above us, the sky moves. I watch the auroras shift and breathe the same way my grandfather once did, the same way his father did before him. The same way people have for as long as this place has been. And for a little while, nowhere doesn't feel so empty. But even during the festival, the rules don't change, especially during the festival. And that's the first thing you need to know. Rule number 1. There are a lot of little things people in nowhere do without thinking. Knocking the snow off their boots before stepping inside. Leaving a pair of gloves near the door for visitors. Leaving a lantern by the window, even when the power is working just fine. And then there's this. When visiting someone, whether it's a friend's house, a shop,
What do you losers want?
or even a late night convenience store, you always rap on the door.
Man, Santa Claus would be
and
so
say,
proud right now.
"Person here." It's just
The
how
fuck
it's
you
done.
mean?
You'll see it everywhere if you're paying attention.
You know exactly what.
A
we did,
fisherman
DJ.
coming back from the docks, rapping on the frame of the bait shop before stepping in. A group of friends, knocking once before ducking into a bar to escape the cold. Even at the general store, regulars do it
That's
without thinking. Tapping on the wood before crossing over the threshold. I do it too.
Oh.
Not because I think about it. Not because I remind myself to do
Can you guys hear me?
It's just
Yeah,
habit.
we can hear
Something
you.
I've always done.
You're just
Oh.
crazy
I
and
saw my
loud.
parents. Saw my grandparents.
I'm loud?
Every adult
Yes.
in town, every single person who lived here before me. It's just part of life in nowhere. Like waking up
On my
early
way
in the
home
winter
now.
to clear the paths before they ice over.
You're just now on your
like
way
checking
home.
the forecast every morning.
Yes.
Knowing it won't change much, but checking anyway. You don't
You're
question
such a bad boy.
Tourists
fuck you
notice
mean?
sometimes. They see us knocking
I work
and
my
calling
ass.
out, and some of them laugh.
You're such a baddie,
Think it's
bro.
one of those
Like,
quirky
low-key.
small town traditions, something out of a travel documentary.
I'm
And I
gonna touch
guess
you.
to an outsider, it might look
Good
that
boy.
way. They try it themselves, usually as a joke. Rap their knuckles against a door,
I
grin
just
at their
did that.
friends, say
Oh,
the words with an
damn.
exaggerated accent like they're
Is Chance on
playing
here? Because I haven't
pretend.
heard his voice yet.
The shopkeepers,
Nigger.
the bartenders
Oh, he's
nod,
back.
and life
Back
again.
carries on.
Chance
A lot of
Nigger.
people nowhere seem harmless.
Chance
Most of them are.
Chance
This is one of those things that started for a
He's
reason.
Chance kind of good thing.
There's a story behind it. One I
Chance,
think you
let's see
should
what kind of
hear.
Pokemon I caught Chance on.
A
Chance
place like nowhere holds on to its stories.
Pokemon I
Tucked
caught Chance
between
on.
towering mountains, with skies so clear you can see every
Let's see the Pokemon
star,
I caught.
and forests
I caught a-
stretching as deep and
I caught a
wild as
Chance
the
on.
ocean. This
I
town
caught
is
a-
built on more than just wood and stone.
A wild Chance on.
built on
Chance on.
belief,
You know what I'm gonna do to that thing, don't you?
superstition,
You know what I'm gonna do to
the
that
kind of
thing.
knowledge that doesn't come from books
Wait,
or
Chance
schools,
Hawk
but
too?
from the mouths of those who've lived here long enough to understand the land.
Talk to
People
me,
survive
Chance.
out here because they listen.
Boy, you gotta spit
The
on that
mountains are
thing.
old,
You should
the
talk to, I don't
forests
talk
are
to
older, and something else
Hey,
has always lived in them. Monsters,
You know what I'm gonna
my
do that
grandfather
thing.
used to
Don't
say.
Batman. Batman. You know what I'm gonna do
Not
that
the
thing.
kind
Batman.
from fairy
Batman.
tales, not dragons or ghosts or things that crawl out of the ground. No,
Batman.
the
Do it,
ones that live
Batman.
here are something
Batman.
else. Things with two wide smiles,
I don't think we need the
things that watch from the trees,
What
things
if I
that slip
touch
between
you?
the cracks of the world like water through frozen earth.
We want that. Sure.
The people of nowhere live in harmony with them.
We don't have those either.
Always have.
Alright, you guys
That's
are
the
not
way
gonna.
it's always been.
You guys are not gonna be able to hear
A
me
town
very well
like
for a
this
minute.
doesn't last unless it learns to live
Oh,
with
we're-
what's already here. So we follow the rules. The same way our grandparents did. The same way their grandparents did before them. The rule you just heard, it's one of the oldest. It might seem strange to you, knocking and announcing yourself like that. It's just what we do. A habit, a greeting.
Is it me, or is
Something
that
so
one chick just
ordinary
like
that
popular
no one
in
thinks too
Yu-Gi-Oh?
hard about it. But there's a reason
There's a lot of
for
chicks
it.
that are popular in
Buried
Yu-Gi-Oh,
deep
Daniel.
in the past, passed down like an old story,
Like as like an
told
icon
over
frame. Like I
crackling
just see
fire.
it everywhere.
Monsters
Mine?
don't lie.
If you know what I mean.
That's what my grandfather
Mine?
told me. They can trick.
What?
They can cheat. They
Wait,
can
are you talking about
twist
Ace
words
or Sky
like
Striker
fishermen
Ace?
twisting
Yep.
knots. But they can never tell an outright lie.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of chick or
What
that's
magic
all I ever see.
is. Hell,
It's not that good.
No one does.
It's like the default of Yu-Gi-Oh!
But it
now.
works. And it's why the
Really
rule
good for,
exists. A town like this, small,
It might just
isolated,
low-key replace Dark
surrounded by
Magician,
miles of
Exodia, and
wilderness.
Blue Eyes.
You can't survive
Or even
if
Red
you
Eyes.
don't trust your neighbors. Harsh winters, long
Have
nights,
stupidly
roads that
like
disappear
popular
under thick snow. People need each other to get through it. But how do you trust someone in a place where not everything that walks on two legs is human?
Loved his opponent now.
You
I
make
have a
them
secret.
say it. Long
That
ago,
destroys him.
people started announcing themselves before stepping inside a home or a shop or any place where others might gather. A simple habit, a quick word, just a way to be sure a human can say it without trouble. Something else cannot. So the rules stay. Even now, when no one really talks about why, when it's just something people do without thinking, it remains a tradition, a piece of nowhere's history, woven so deeply into daily life that no one questions it. You'll see it when you're here. You'll hear it in passing. See it done so casually that you might forget there was ever a reason behind it. But don't forget, if you visit anywhere in town, be sure
Did
to
you
follow
see?
the rule.
Fiend Smith got an
Some
upgrade.
monsters won't try to force their way.
Fiend
They'll
Smith
wait
got
for
an
you to
upgrade?
invite them.
How
They'll
so?
offer
What did
things,
they unban?
trinkets made of
They didn't unban anything, they just added more cards to it, so now it's just a lot more OP.
that glows under the
Fucking
moonlight.
gay.
They'll promise
I'm not even
rewards
joking,
from
Blue Eyes and
coldest
Fiend Smith are
whisper
like the
of
meta right
hidden
now.
places no human has ever seen. Some will challenge you to a game, a simple bet, a test of skill or luck. Others will hand you a riddle, the kind that twists your thoughts and pulls at something.
I'm
deep
not
inside
getting
you.
into that Fiend
Something
Smith
that makes you
shit.
want to solve it, even when you know you
Fiend
shouldn't.
Smith, I'm low-key gonna
Some
consider
are
that,
playful,
like, making it
more
as a deck
nuisance
for
than
me.
nightmare. If you give them your time, they'll spoil your milk,
Like, it's not that bad.
tangle your fishing lines, or lead
I'm
you
just
down
not
the
getting
wrong
into all that
path
shit.
until
Fiend
you're
Smith
lost
engines
for
are so
hours.
expensive.
Annoying, but not deadly.
What are you talking about? Blue Eyes
Others
is
are
probably like the
worse.
most expensive deck.
But whether they
It's like
have
ever built in
wings,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
fangs, or claws, they all live under the same set of rules. Rules older than the town,
That's okay.
older than the mountains, older than anything that walks or breathes.
Santos,
And the most
you...
important one, they can't lie. It's the only advantage you'll ever
Why are you
have.
trying to blame it onto me?
So,
You know the facts.
If you ever
You know
meet
you're
someone who
gay.
doesn't look quite
Just
right,
stop denying it like a
if they
good
seem
boy.
too beautiful,
Just stop denying like a
if their
good boy.
teeth are a little too sharp, if something about them makes the hair on the back of your neck stand
Oh,
up,
this guy's...
then make
Oh,
sure to
wait,
look
I
for the
see now.
words
Okay,
person
that's
here
cool.
before letting them inside. Rule number 2. There are things in nowhere
That's much
that
better. I'm
don't
drawing a
belong.
lot more money in things.
Not a big those have always been here, woven into the land itself.
I like how some
No,
cards,
these
they
things
just
are
like
different.
glow. It's so nice.
They come from somewhere else, though no one knows where. They slip into places they shouldn't be, waiting for someone to notice. The Wonder World coins are one of them. You'll find them scattered around town. A coin in the size of a silver dollar, painted in gold, but worthless in every way that matters. The words Wonder World LTO are stamped on the front, along with the image of a Ferris wheel. They shouldn't be here. Nowhere doesn't have a Wonder World. There's no theme park, no carnival, no business with that name. Not now, not ever. Ask anyone, they'll tell you the same. The closest amusement park is miles away, across frozen highways and dense forests, far beyond where these coins should exist. But you'll find them anyway. You will see them in the oddest places. Behind a dumpster, half buried in snow, balancing on the edge of a gutter, too clean to have been there long, sitting in the wired basket of an abandoned shopping cart, glinting in the dim light. And sometimes they'll show up in places meant just for you, resting on the table of a coffee shop, The moment you walk in, inside the pocket of an old ski jacket you haven't worn in years, nestled on the seat of your car, even when you are certain you lock the doors, like they're waiting for you, like they want to be found. But whatever you do, don't take them. Don't pick them up. Don't keep them in your pocket, thinking they might be interesting souvenirs. Don't carry them home, thinking maybe, just maybe, they might be worth something after all. They aren't. No one knows where they come from. No one knows why they appear. But everyone in Nowhere knows the same thing. The coins always disappear. You leave them where they are, and they'll be gone the next time you look. You throw them away, and they won't be in the trash when you check again. You toss them into the frozen lake, and someone will find one waiting for them in their coat pocket the next morning. You can't get rid of them. Not really. They move on their own. And if you take one, well, I have a story about that too. There was once a local named Jim. Jim was a nice man, in all the ways God counts nice men. That's what my grandfather used to say about him, and I believe it. He went to church on Sundays, had an honest job, and said his pleases and thank yous. Never raised his voice in anger, never turned away a neighbor in need. If you asked most folks, they'd tell you Jim was a good man. But Jim was also greedy. Not in the way a thief is greedy, not in the way a man cheats or steals, but in a way that wore people down over time. He liked to haggle, always pushing, always pressing, always trying to get something for just a little less than what he was worth. It didn't matter if it was a sack of potatoes, a pair of old boots, or a jar of jam at the market. Jim would argue the price down, not because he couldn't afford it, but because he hated the thought of paying full price when he knew he could talk someone into lowering it. It got him a reputation, especially among the shopkeepers. The grocer in particular could not stand him. People would roll their eyes and step aside when they saw Jim walk up to the stall, because they knew it'd be a show. Jim standing there, arms crossed, lips pursed, shaking his head as he talked the poor man in circles over a few measly cents. They'd go back and forth for so long that some swore they could feel the seasons change before they were done. But Jim always got his way. And then the Wonder World coins started showing up. They weren't everywhere, not like they are now. Back then, they were rare. Something you might find once in a while, tucked in a crack in the sidewalk or wedged between the cobblestones of Main Street. Nobody knew where they came from, but people liked them. They were strange, yeah, but they were kind of beautiful. Shiny, golden, too clean to be ordinary. Some folks started keeping them, storing them in little boxes, setting them on shelves. A curiosity, nothing more. But Jim saw something else in them. He hoarded them the way a crow hoards trinkets. Slipping them into his pockets, stashing them in jars, filling drawers with them until his house was littered with stacks of worthless gold. No one would take him his payment, no matter how much he tried, but Jim did not care. He was convinced they had value, convinced they were meant for something. And that's how the story goes. Jim, with his pockets full of coins, walking deep into the woods where the trees grew too close together and the air turned still. He was looking for something. Or maybe he was following something. A trail older than the town itself, a path barely visible beneath a thick layer of snow, winding its way through the forest where no one ever went. It was there that he met the dwarf. Nobody knows what the dwarf looked like. Some say he was small and hunched, with a beard so long it touched the ground. Others say he was nothing but a voice in the trees, A shape moving just out of sight. Something that never stepped fully into the light. But everyone agrees on one thing.
Is it me or Link Karibo is just like part of the meta
What the fate
right now?
was, no one knows. Maybe Jim asked for endless wealth. Or maybe he asked for something to make his life just a little bit easier. A bigger catch during fishing season. A guarantee that his traps would always be full. It doesn't matter. The details change depending on who tells that story, but the ending never does. The dwarf agreed to grant Jim's wish, but like all favors in old stories, there was a price. Jim had to pay his weight in gold, and he agreed. That's the part that always gets me. Jim agreed. Maybe he thought he'd find a way out of it later. Maybe he thought he was clever enough to trick something that had been walking these woods since before men first built their homes here. Maybe he really believed that whatever force governed the world would let him get away with it. But he didn't pay in real gold. He paid in Wonderworld coins. Whatever happened in that moment, it didn't end well for Jim. The next week, they found him in his home, slumped over in his chair, his skin cold, his mouth slightly open, like he'd been in the middle of speaking when something stopped him. His tongue was missing.
Okay.
No one collects the coins anymore. People leave them where they find them, step over them like they aren't there, brush them off tables and countertops without a second thought. The old rule stands. Ignore the Wonderworld coins. Nothing good comes from keeping fake gold. Rule number 3. You're here for the festival. That's what brings most people to nowhere. You want to see the northern
Oh,
lights.
there goes my own chance to
Maybe
win
take a few
this.
pictures. Maybe even make a wish.
That's freaking retarded.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime sort of thing, isn't it? Something you can tell people about when you go home.
And now I'm about
Something
to take
carry with
6,000
you
damage.
forever. And you won't be disappointed. The lights are everything you've heard and more. The sky moves in slow waves, colors rippling like silk caught in a breeze. Green, blue, violet, shifting and changing, stretching from one horizon to the next. They don't make a sound, but somehow they feel loud, like they fill up something deep inside of you, something you didn't realize was empty. It's impossible not to get caught up in the moment. People, their breath rising in clouds, their faces turn to the sky. The whole town feels
that's true.
frozen in place, watching something bigger than themselves.
Get down
That's
to
the this match.
You can understand why the old stories say the
Bro,
auroras
I'm
carry
just telling
souls
you,
to the
if you
afterlife.
see an opponent
There's
Fiend
something
Smith
about 'em
deck,
that makes you feel like you're standing at the edge of the
just
world,
don't. Just
looking
don't try.
at something you were never
I don't
meant
know,
to
man.
see. But when the lights fade, when the sky settles into darkness again, when the festival starts to quiet down and the cold begins to creep in, that's when you have to remember the rule. Don't go home. Not yet. The locals call it shaking off the spirits.
Alright, let's see
You
if
go
we're drawing
somewhere else
good.
first.
Okay,
A bar,
is it
a
me,
convenience
or is it just
store,
hard to draw the
late-night
master
cafe,
pack?
Even
Anything
a hot
else?
cocoa stand off the side of the
Or
road.
not the
will
master
do.
pack, the
But
legacy
you have
pack.
to stay for 1 hour.
Skill issue. I don't know.
Doesn't matter how
You
tired
get legacy
you are,
tickets.
how cold your fingers
And
feel,
yet you still
how
get
much
no
you wanna
URs.
crawl under warm blankets and fall asleep. You wait. You sit, sip something warm, listen to the low murmur of conversation.